Hi guys, today I'm going to talk you through journals that you can keep in order to be able to show different performance standards in your research project. Journals aren't a required part of the research project, however they are able to demonstrate different things that are needed to be marked against. They don't have to be sent to the SACE board, but they can make up some or one of your 10 pages. If you look at the document that's been produced for you, the purpose of journals is to provide an opportunity for you to discuss the development of your chosen capability. This is often difficult to show through annotated sources. So the chosen capability, in your proposal, you would have chosen one or two capabilities. In some cases, things like the development of language or the literacy and numeracy capability is actually quite easy to show, but something like the ethical capability or the personal and social capability is difficult unless you reflect specifically on that capability or that performance standard, and journals force you to do that. If you say, in my journals I'm going to talk about my capability, then you'll talk about it. Another purpose of journals is to keep track of challenges and opportunities that you encounter. So one of the performance standards that's marked in the evaluation, which is E2, is that the evaluation of decisions made in relation to challenges and opportunities that were presented to you. If you keep a series of journals talking about the different challenges and opportunities that were presented to you throughout the research process, then what you can actually do is use that as a way to write your evaluation or that part of your evaluation later. 6 months down the track, you may not remember exactly what you did, or you might not remember exactly why you did something. However, if you write about it in your journals, then it will be easier for you to write about it in your evaluation. Okay. While I'm not telling you have to write journals, if you're going to do them, I would say every 1 to 2 weeks, or whenever something really big happens. So if you change your understanding, or if you just go, wow, I didn't realize that beforehand, that's when you start writing a journal. Or when you are presented with an opportunity that you didn't expect, or if you have gone, I don't know what to do next, I'm going to write a journal so I have right now, this is what I was thinking and this is why I'm doing it. That is what the purpose of a journal is for a research project. All right. So the first thing I want you to talk about in a research project journal is anything new that you've understood. So what have you learned up to this point? What have you learned in the last 2 weeks? What have you learned in the last 4 weeks? It depends on how often you write your journal. So between your last journal and now, what is it that you've learned, and how is it helping you answer your key findings or your key question? How has it helped you move on in your research? If it's actually forced you to change your question, then that's cool. Talk about that. Explain why and how that's happened, all right? In research project journals, it's not about telling a story, it's about justifying what you've done. So what have you done and why? What have you learnt? Why? Have you changed your key findings or your key questions? Why? All right, always just do a reflection on that. The second part that I would suggest that you talk about, but again, you don't have to do this every single time, is the challenges that you have encountered. Now, challenges in this case aren't things like first world challenges. I don't care if your USB has just destroyed itself. I don't necessarily care if people haven't responded to your emails. What I care about is if you are finding it really difficult to understand the language of your research topic, if you're finding it really difficult to find the answer to one of your key findings, if you're finding it really difficult to be able to access sources that are academic, that kind of thing, if it's something like that, that's an actual challenge. If you're finding it difficult to manage your time, that's not really a challenge, that's just something that you need to work out how to fix. All right, so you talk in this section about the challenges, talk about the problem that you experienced and what are you doing in order to fix that problem. Why did you choose that way to fix the problem? What do you intend to be able to get out of the way that you fix the problem? You can go back later and read through what you've written, and in maybe a journal in 3 or 4 weeks after you've written it, you then go, how successful was I by using that fix. How successful was my decision that I was making? That way, when you go to write your evaluation in the section about the challenges that you experienced, you actually have something preempting or predetermining what you're going to write in there, so it's kind of helpful for you. The third thing you can choose to write about in journals is the opportunities that you encountered. Now, opportunities can be if you were given a better source, if you were able to contact someone in particular, if you had discovered something at the bottom of a journal article, if you have realised that your question was too broad and therefore someone has suggested that you narrow the topic down to this or something else, that's an opportunity that's offered to you. So how did you come about this opportunity? What did you do in relation to that? How did you respond to the opportunity that was given to you? If you're given an opportunity, don't say no to it. Always say yes. Always try to incorporate it into your research. Most often those opportunities are being extended by people who are experts in their field. So if you ignore them, it's not really helping you at all. It may be a little bit more work, but what may end up coming from that is some really valuable advice or information. So make sure that you seize the opportunities that are handed to you. Again, like the challenges, make sure you go back and reflect on how successful you were by taking up that opportunity, how it allowed you to broaden your understanding, or how it allowed you to move on with your research, and how it helped you answer your question in the end. Again, you go back and use that in your evaluation later, which means that it's a little bit less thinking that you're going to have to do at the end of the research project. The last thing that I'm going to suggest that you possibly cover in your journals is one or more of the capabilities. So the capabilities are often difficult for you to be able to show. One of the things that the Chief Examiner's report is saying is that there needs to be an interaction with the capabilities. You need to show a development throughout the research project. So if you just ignore them and leave them to the end, you're not going to get a very good grade in that performance standard. So what I want you to do, even if this is the only thing that you talk about in a journal, is grab the definition of the capability that the SACE board provides you with, and then reflect back on how you are developing it against what the SACE board says that capability is. So that's using the student worksheet that we have given you this year, but it's also talking to your teacher. What does the capability mean? Actually pull that apart. How can you look at your question through the focus of that capability, and therefore how have you shown a development of that capability throughout the 4 months that you've been doing the research project? All right, so the journals that you hand up for marking, they don't have to be 18 pages of them. They can just be 1 or 2 pages, and then one of them is selected for the 10 pages of your folio that you hand to the SACE board. They don't have to be sequential ones that you hand up. They just need to be ones that show a huge change over time in either a challenge, an opportunity, or a capability. But just remember, the more background work you do through a journal, the less you're going to have to do when you're writing your evaluation at the end of the research project. So this is kind of one of those time-saving devices, but it's also one of those ones that can help you show a performance standard that you're otherwise not showing elsewhere. All right, just some advice, guys. Do with that as you wish.